What is going on, everyone? This is Eric coming at you live from just outside of Hartford, Connecticut. A couple of days later than I wanted to, but unfortunately, unforeseen circumstances kind of delayed me. So here we are, Monday night, and we are going to be discussing the group stage of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. So, yes, I know that we are 3 days into the round of 16, but it's unfortunate for me, but for us, but at least we're gonna get something here. So without further ado, I'm not gonna go into complete detail. I did watch a good amount of these games, or at minimum I watched like the after the fact, you know, I watched the little summaries about the games, like, oh yeah, here's the key moments of the game, great save, just missed the opportunity, blah blah blah. So, you know, the fact of the time difference wasn't the worst thing in the world. You know, 2018 was much worse with Russia, but wow, it was an instantaneous goal. But some of the time, you know, I work mornings, so I didn't get to see usually the 10 o'clock games for Eastern time. I didn't get to watch the majority of them, the earlier games. So, anyways, we'll start with Group A. So how I'm going to do this, I'm going to break it down. I'm going to look at the group. I'm going to kind of discuss their matches. I'll look at each team, so it'll be kind of fun. So, Group A, of course, always has the hosts. And this group also had the Netherlands, Senegal, and Ecuador. So, the Netherlands were the heavy favorites. Senegal was probably the second team. Ecuador right up there. If you look at their FIFA rankings entering the tournament, you know, Qatar was ranked 50th, so, I mean, nobody really thought much of them. Netherlands was ranked 8th in the world, and Senegal was ranked 18th, while Ecuador was 44th. So, yeah, pretty much, Netherlands, Senegal were the favorites. Ecuador had a chance to be a little bit of a sleeper. Everyone kind of thought Qatar was, you know, oh yeah, they're ranked low, but they're overranked. They're overranked, and it did kind of show. So the opening match was, of course, between the host Qatar and Ecuador, because it was kind of like, all right, let's get them a game they actually have a shot to win. Ecuador would go on to win the game 2-0. So it was a pretty bad showing for Qatar. They did not show up, and it is what it is, I suppose. You can look at it that way. The Dutch would play Senegal next, and the Netherlands would win that game. Wow, we're having a lot of goals in this one. So the Dutch would win that game 2-0. So all of a sudden, Ecuador, the Netherlands, both up in the group. Senegal goes and plays Qatar for their second game, beats them 3-1. So Qatar at least scores a goal. At least they have that going for them. There's something. The fans were pretty excited, despite the fact that they were down 2-0, 2-1, I guess, at that point of the goal. They were very excited. That was one of the highlights of the tournament so far. You know, fan-wise, the fans were definitely excited. So it was a nice goal. And then, of course, 5 minutes later, Senegal would score the essential backbreak. Surprising move. The Netherlands would score an early goal against Ecuador, but Ecuador would score an equalizer early in the second half. And this put it in a situation where, surprisingly, the Netherlands tied Senegal, or Ecuador. So all of a sudden, you know, after 2 games apiece, Qatar was eliminated, but the other 3 teams all had a shot. So day 3 comes around for them, and Senegal pulls off the victory over Ecuador. They had a penalty kick towards the end of the first half, convert it. Ecuador scores a goal about midway through the second half, and then Senegal scores a goal a couple minutes after that. Senegal goes, big win for them. They needed the win. They advance. The Netherlands beats Qatar 2-0, so Qatar's eliminated. Because of this, the Netherlands would win Group A with 7 points. Senegal would come in second with 6 points. And then, of course, Ecuador and Qatar are both eliminated with 4 points and 0 points, respectively. So, it was interesting for sure to kind of see all these teams playing. That tie for Ecuador is probably their highlight. I mean, especially if the Dutch can make a run this year. Ecuador getting a tie out of them is pretty impressive. Qatar, I mean, thank you for showing up. No one expected anything of them. So it is what it is for them. Now, Group B was another group that everyone kind of looked at and said, all right, this group's going to go in one of a few ways. So, of course, this group had England, the United States, Iran, and Wales. So, you had some talented teams here, but at the same time, not the most talented. Now, England, at this point, prior to the World Cup, was definitely the heavyweight, the favorites to win this group. They were ranked 5th in the world. The United States was probably right up there, kind of looking at Wales as well. United States ranked 16th, the Welsh were ranked 19th, and Iran was actually ranked 20th. So it was a talented group, but you do have to remember, Iran being an Asian heavyweight doesn't, and United States being a CONCACAF heavyweight doesn't carry the same, prestige as being a good team in Europe, because the conferences are just nowhere near as good. Anyways, how did the games go? So the opening days for the matchups, England bombed, pretty much, I shouldn't say that, England beat up Iran 6-2. They just absolutely decimated them. They were scoring left and right. They were up 4-0 at half. And then, Iran and them split the second half. Iran scored a late penalty kick. When I say late, I mean it was in like the 102nd, 103rd minute of the game because of extra time. So it was pretty apparent at that point that England was going to be a team to watch out for in the tournament. As for the United States and Wales, United States was pretty much controlling the first half. They were just dominating the first half of the game against the Welsh. And then the second half, the Welsh kind of started getting their opportunities, scored an equalizer. All of a sudden, 1-1, game's over. United States should have won that game. Obviously I'm going to talk more about the United States because I live there, I was rooting for them, I watched their games. I had this one recorded, and it was disappointing, to say the least. I'm just kind of like, really, guys? You blew the lead. Young team, I know, talented team, but it is what it is. So at this point, England, first place. United States, Wales, tied for second. Iran in last. Now you had the second games for these teams, and Iran would play Wales, and Iran would actually come out, and this game was tied at 0 through regulation. Now, when I say through regulation, I mean the first 90 minutes. There was extra time, extra stoppage time, whatever you want to call it, and Iran would score a pair of goals in that extra time after the game would have ended. So we're talking about like the 8 minutes into the 90th, past the 90th minute, an extra time, and then a couple minutes after that. So Iran would beat Wales 2-0. That was a much-needed win for them. The United States and England had a very interesting game. Now, if I was a bigger soccer fan, I'm sure I would talk about all the strategy in it, to how the United States played. But the United States was controlling the game. They went in there, they came in, and they just kind of played England, and they controlled the pace of the game. They knew what they wanted to do, and they played the game the exact way that they wanted to play. That was the game that the United States wanted, and it worked exactly how they wanted it to, which was probably the best case scenario for the Americans. 0-0 tie. Which, I mean, England was... It was surprising to see England not really get the chances that they had gotten against Iran. But the United States just did what they had to do. So it was an impressive run for them. Impressive game for them, I should say. Now that put the United States, with 2 points. So that meant that the United States had to win their last game to advance to the round of 16. England was in a very good spot as long as they pretty much tied. They were going to advance. So what this meant was you had the Welsh versus the English, which, me being a history person, I loved the historical aspects of that. But I wasn't watching that game. I was far more interested in the United States taking on Iran. So anyway, England, United States, I'm kind of like keeping an eye on the United States game. I missed the first few minutes because I was coming home from work, but anyway, United States comes in. Christian Pulisic scores a goal 38 minutes in. And this game was just being dominated by the United States. At that point, the U.S. just kind of took a step back and said, all right, we're going to start to play some more defense because you need this defense. We cannot lose. We cannot tie. We need the win. So we got to preserve. England goes in. We're in the second half. England scores a goal against Wales. Then they score another goal a minute later. At that point, it's like, okay, England's going to win, so United States needs to hold on to win. Sure enough, both things happen. England wins 3-0. United States wins 1-0. Great showing. So that meant that England won the Group B with 7 points. The United States took the second spot with 5 points. Iran, 3 points. Good showing for them. Wales, a single point from their draw with the United States. So all things considered, I mean, England definitely looking like a favorite at this point in time. United States has potential, had potential. And Iran, I mean, good showing for them. It's just a tough draw. United States did what they wanted to do. Wales, disappointing. Definitely a disappointing showing for the Welsh. So now we get to Group C. Group C was another intriguing group. You had another front, heavyweight here with Argentina. You also had Mexico, Poland, and Saudi Arabia. So, I mean, right off the bat, you kind of know that Argentina is ranked up there in the top of the world. They are ranked third. They are, however you want to look at it, are ranked third in the world entering the tournament. Mexico was ranked 13th. They were the best team from the North American Conference, CONCACAF, if you will. Poland ranked 26th. And Saudi Arabia was ranked, I think, 54th. They were ranked outside the top 50. I do know that much. So no one kind of gave Saudi Arabia a second thought. Opening day for this group, in a very interesting matchup, Saudi Arabia versus Argentina. Now, Messi gets a penalty kick, scores 10 minutes in. Go to halftime, you're tied. Argentina's up 1-0, as expected. Saudi Arabia comes in, and they made some strong halftime adjustments because 10 minutes into the second half, they took a 2-0 lead, a 2-1 lead. I was going to say 2-0 advantage in the second half. So all of a sudden, Saudi Arabia's up 2-1 against Argentina, and they would hold on to get the victory. Nobody expected that at all. Saudi Arabia, huge upset victory over Argentina. Poland and Mexico was a very... I'm happy I didn't even bother to kind of do any more research because I heard how bad this game was. Just Poland-Mexico 0-0 draw, moving on. Poland goes up against Saudi Arabia, and everyone's kind of look at this game as, okay, can Saudi Arabia carry their momentum and, beat another heavyweight? Relatively speaking, heavyweight. Or will Poland be able to do what they had to do? Poland comes in, scores a couple goals late in each half, or a goal in each half late in the half. 2-0 victory for them. Kind of halted some of the Saudi Arabia momentum, but Argentina, Mexico, this was a game that some people were thinking, it's a trap game for Argentina. They could definitely lose to Mexico. They didn't. Messi scored a goal, midway through the second half. Fernandez scored a goal towards the end of the half. Argentina wins 2-0. So Mexico all of a sudden finds themselves in trouble with only a single point in the first stage, or in the first two games, which they shouldn't have been in that situation. They were behind Saudi Arabia, behind Poland, and behind Argentina. So we get to the final day, and Poland-Argentina, this is an intriguing matchup. Argentina basically, if they lose and Saudi Arabia wins, they're eliminated. They know this, so they come in. They have the momentum going to an extent in the second half. They score a goal early in the second half, score a goal towards the midway of the second half, win the game 2-0 over Poland. Now, Saudi Arabia and Mexico was another interesting game. Mexico kind of, I discussed halftime adjustments. They made halftime adjustments. They scored 2 goals early in the second half. Saudi Arabia scored a goal late in extra time, but it wasn't enough. Mexico would win 2-1. Now, how did it stack up in the end? Argentina won the group with 6 points. Poland came in second with 4. Mexico also had 4 points. They came in third. Saudi Arabia finished with 3 points, so they finished fourth. Now, Poland beat Mexico due to, normally you look at the head-to-head, didn't matter, it was a 0-0 draw. In this situation, Poland had a 0 goal differential, so they scored as many goals as they allowed, whereas Mexico had a -1, because remember, they won a game 2-0, they won their game 2-1, but they lost 2-0, so Mexico was eliminated because of the goal differential. And as an American, our biggest rival in soccer is Mexico. So I wasn't disappointed to see Mexico get knocked out while the United States moved on. I'll leave it at that. Disappointing performance for the Mexican national team. They definitely looked like they were going to have a chance to move on, make some noise this year. They failed to. What are you going to do? It stinks for them, but, there's still time to build some momentum. You are co-hosting the 2026 World Cup with the United States and Canada. Saudi Arabia, yes, it's a disappointing performance because you didn't advance, but the fact of the matter is you put your names out there by defeating Argentina and Messi. Huge victory. That's all it is. Maybe you can carry some momentum. Asia is not a strong conference for soccer, football, if you will, since I'm talking about Asia. So there's definitely potential for Saudi Arabia. So Group D was another intriguing group. You had France, Denmark, Tunisia, and Australia. So coming into here, France, of course, won the 2018 FIFA World Cup, and they are ranked 4th in the world. So they're definitely a talented team. Denmark was also ranked top 10. They were ranked 10th, actually, entering the World Cup. Tunisia is one of the better African teams. They are ranked 30th, whereas Australia, 38th, one of the least impressive teams to make the World Cup. So, I mean, what are you going to do with that? Anyways, Game 1, Denmark versus Tunisia. 0-0 draw. Wasn't as boring as other 0-0 draws were, but still a 0-0 draw is a 0-0 draw. So, what are you going to do? France comes into Australia, and the Aussies put up an early goal less than 10 minutes into the game, but France just kind of said, yeah, enough of that. Scores the next 4-1, French victory. So, it is what it is. I'm getting messages in a group chat. That's what this lovely black square is, and I'm not happy with it. But, anyways, apologies for that. But Group 2, or Game 2 for these guys, Australia versus Tunisia. Tunisia kind of needed a victory here. Australia needed a victory here. They score a goal. That's enough to get them the win, 1-0. France-Denmark. This was a hyped-up game. France scores the goal early in the second half. Denmark responds about 10 minutes later. Then France would respond about 20 minutes after that to win 2-1. So France had already clinched their spot due to their tiebreakers and everything like that. So it was very exciting for them. France, good to go. Everyone else duking it out for that last spot. Australia versus Denmark. On paper, the winner had a good chance to move on because Tunisia had to beat France by a decent amount, but it would have depended what the scores were and everything like that. So the Aussies come in against the Danish, and the Tunisians come in against the French. And, you know, the first half of both games was 0-0, so this would have been intriguing because this actually would have put Tunisia into the next round. So it would have been interesting. Actually, it would have put Denmark into the next round. No, Tunisia, I'm right, Tunisia. It would have put Tunisia into the next round. So, it would have been something. It would have been something. But, early in the second half for both teams, action happens. Tunisia scores, and then a couple minutes after that, Australia scores. So, Australia and Tunisia both up 1-0 in their respective matches. Next thing you know, that's the final score. So, how did it work out? France wins the group with 6 points. Australia comes in second with 6 points. Now, France won the head-to-head over Australia, and they had the better goal differential, +3 versus -1. So France got the 1 seed, Australia got the 2. Tunisia, third place with 4 points. Denmark, only 1 point, gets 4th place. Alright, elephant in the room. Horrible showing for the Danish. A lot more was expected from them. There's one team that disappointed more than them, though, so they will not get most of my "what are you doing" out here. But still, very disappointing showing for Denmark, for sure. Tunisia did about what you were expected to do. So, there's that. Now, Group E was another one. Not really a talented group, but there was definitely, it was a better group than I gave it credit for, I should say. So this group had Spain, Germany, so you're talking about the 2010, 2014 World Cup winners, respectively, Japan, and Costa Rica. So, right off the bat, everyone kind of knew Costa Rica was going to just be there to have fun. But then again, we thought the same thing when they had their little miraculous run 2014. So, who knows? Japan, Spain, France, or Japan, Spain, Germany. So, Spain, entering the World Cup, was ranked 7th. Germany was ranked 11th. Japan was ranked a respectable 24th, while Costa Rica 31st. Now, opening day, Germany versus Japan. Germany scores the first goal, but Japan would retaliate in the second half by scoring a pair of goals. Japan wins that game 2-1. Spain versus Costa Rica, very lopsided game. I didn't watch this one, and I'm not disappointed that I didn't watch it because it wouldn't have been intriguing. It wasn't a close game at all. Spain scores early, 11 minutes in, then they score a few minutes later, 10 minutes later, 10 minutes after that. So, it's 3-0 at halftime. Then they put on 4 more goals in the second half. Costa Rica doesn't get any. So Spain looking like a heavyweight favorite. They've already won 7-0. I mean, you rarely see blowouts like this in the World Cup, so it was concerning. Japan, with their shocking upset over Germany, was kind of holding the cards for what they wanted to do. So game 2, stage 2 comes in. Costa Rica versus Japan. This was a shocker. So, Japan's riding momentum. They upset Germany, riding high. Guess what happens? Costa Rica beats them, coming off a 7-0 loss. They come in, beat Japan, who just upset Germany. Very surprising. Now you had the Spain versus Germany game. Spain scored a goal about midway through the second half. Germany retaliates about 10 minutes before the end of the game. 1-1 draw. Very exciting game. Very strategic game. Loved watching that one. So all of a sudden, Germany, no one expected this, but Germany's in a position where they have to win, and they have to get some help in the other game. Whereas Spain, they're looking good. Japan, they're looking good. Everyone's alive. Everyone definitely has a chance to move on. So I'll discuss game by game for this one. So Japan versus Spain. Spain took an early goal, 1-0 lead, and I'm rooting for Germany outside the United States. So I'm like, all right, come on, Germany, do something, do something, do something. Germany comes in, and they're doing their things. But anyway, Spain takes a 1-0 lead going into the half. All of a sudden, Japan in the second half, they score a goal early. Then they score a more controversial goal. So it stands. I'm not going to get into it because I'm not the biggest soccer fan. So I don't have the knowledge that other soccer fans do. So the goal stands. That's all that matters. 2-1. Japan wins. In the Germany game, Germany scored an early goal, and they held that 1-0 lead for the first half. Now, entering the second half, all of a sudden, Costa Rica started producing. Now, the Germans were getting all these attacking opportunities, and I'm like, come on, guys, you gotta connect. You gotta connect. But they just keep missing. It's like that. That was perfect timing, except it was Argentina. You had an opportunity, and you just missed it. It could have been a goal. It should have been a goal, but you just missed it. And it kept happening to Germany. All of a sudden, Costa Rica scores a goal, 1-1. Then Costa Rica scores a second goal, 2-1. All of a sudden, Costa Rica's, in the driver's seat. Minutes after Costa Rica scored, and they were doing all their little celebrating, the Germans drive down the field, score 2-2. Germany would score not about 10 minutes later. And, they don't want to celebrate. They're there because they know they need to win. They're the favorites. They're supposed to win this game. So they don't want to celebrate. They score a few minutes after that. At this point, I put my phone down for a minute, and I wasn't watching when they scored that fourth goal. Germany wins the game 4-2. So how does this work out? In a bit of a surprise, Japan won Group E with 6 points. Now, Germany and Spain were tied with 4 points. Costa Rica had 3 points. Costa Rica gets 4th place, is eliminated. Now, Spain v. Germany. They had a 1-1 draw, so who moves on? Spain, because they destroyed Costa Rica 7-0, had a +6 goal differential. Germany had a +1. Therefore, Spain moved on as the second seed from Group E. I don't think anyone saw that coming. The only way it would have been crazier is if somehow, some way, Costa Rica had advanced over Spain. But what are you going to do? Group F. So Group F was another intriguing group. You had the number 2 country in the world, Belgium, in this group. You also had one of the better teams at one point, not too long ago. Canada was considered the best team in CONCACAF, but they had definitely regressed recently. They're ranked 41st in the world at the time of the World Cup. You also had the reigning runners-up, Croatia, who are a very strong team as well, ranked 12th in the world. And lastly, you have one of the most frustrating teams to play in soccer in the world, Morocco. So how did this group go? So Morocco, Croatia, 0-0 draw, opening day. This was kind of expected because of how both teams are. They play pretty similar. Morocco's the team that kind of is like, all right, you're not going to make us play you strong. We're not worried about it. We're going to do what we want to do. We're going to control the pace of play. Croatia's like, okay, if you're not going to give us every opportunity, we're not going to force because we don't want to allow a goal. So it was an intriguing game. That's pretty much the best way to put it. Belgium versus Canada. Belgium, late in the first half, scores a goal. That would be the only action of the game. 1-0 Belgium victory. So pretty boring, so to speak. Games ones for both teams, for both matchups. Only one goal combined. What are you going to do? Now Morocco comes in to play Belgium for their second game. And in a bit of a surprise, Morocco's offense kind of came to life at the second, halfway through the second half. They scored a pair of goals against team, and that would be enough as their frustrating defense was able to stop the very old is the best way to put it, the older Belgian attacks. So it was just a real shocker, but it was enough. Morocco pulled off the victory. Croatia versus Canada. Canada scored a goal almost instantly in the game. But Croatia said, all right, if you're going to score, we're going to exploit you. You're playing too aggressive. Croatia comes in, scores a goal, scores another goal. 2 goals just before halftime. Then they scored a pair of goals in the second half. 4-1 Croatian victory. Now, Game 3 comes in, and at this point, Croatia is in a good position. Morocco is in a very good position. Belgium, Croatia, the winner of this game moves on. If there's a draw, Croatia moves on. So this means Croatia gets to play the game they want to play. They want to, take the ball, control the pace of the play. Belgium needs to try to drive down and score. While they have the ability to do it, they also have in the back of their mind, if we lose, we're done. If we draw, we're done. As for Canada, they're done. They're already eliminated. They can't, no matter what happens, they're eliminated. So it stinks for them, but what are you going to do? So early in the game for Morocco versus Canada, Morocco scores a goal. About 20 minutes after that goal, they would add a second one. And then not too much further into the game, there would be an own goal in favor of Canada. So it's 2-1 Morocco, but that would be all the scoring for the game. Morocco wins that game 2-1. Morocco thus wins the Group F. Croatia, Belgium. Croatia played the game they wanted to play. 0-0 tie. So that was pretty much exactly what they wanted. So that meant Morocco won the group with 7 points in something that not many people saw coming, but I'm pretty happy about that. It was good to see an underdog kind of make, play the way they wanted to play, control the pace of play. Croatia takes the second seed with 5 points. Belgium, 4 points. Third place, does not advance to the round of 16. Canada, you showed up. Give you that, 0 points. All right, Canada, disappointing showing for sure, but what are you going to do? Nothing more you can do. You can look back at it and say, well, you showed up. That's all I can really say. Belgium. What happened? Belgium was a team that everybody thought was going to make a run this year. Everyone's looking at Belgium and saying, this is their year. This is an older side. They need to get going. You look at the United States, they're a young team. You look at Belgium, they're the exact opposite. Belgium needed to win. They failed to. They didn't do anything. This is the end of the Belgian reign for sure. You will not see Belgium near the top of the rankings for a while now. They have a lot. They're old. Their players are all older. It's very disappointing showing for sure for the small European country. I was gonna say Irish. So very disappointing for them. On the bright side, though, a lot of them are similar to the Dutch. A lot of them like the Dutch team as well. So at least you have the Netherlands to root for. Now, Group G has the number 1 team in the world, Brazil, along with a bit of a sleeper underdog. Everyone kind of was like, oh, this is a darling team, Serbia, Cameroon, and Switzerland. As mentioned, Brazil was ranked number 1 in the world. Switzerland, ranked 15th, another solid team here. Serbia, a bit of an underdog story, ranked 21st in the world. And then lastly, Cameroon, who ranked 43rd. So how'd it work out? Matchups 1. Switzerland comes in early in the second half against Cameroon. They score a goal. That would be enough. 1-0, Switzerland beats Cameroon. Brazil versus Serbia. Now, Brazil would score 2 goals in the second half to win the game 2-0. Now, of note, Neymar got hurt in this game, and he would not return for the rest of the group stage. He would return for the round of 16, so there's that for Brazil. But it's just noteworthy. Brazil, you know, they're producing without Neymar at this point. It's good for them. They needed the momentum to carry. So Brazil's doing what they got to do. Switzerland got the win. That's what they wanted. Now, the next games, you had Cameroon versus Serbia. This was a surprising game. So Cameroon scores a goal about midway through the first half. Serbia comes in, and in extra time, they score a goal, and then a minute later, in extra time, they score another one. So all of a sudden, it's 2-1 Serbia to end the first half. Cameroon comes in, and they're getting nervous. All of a sudden, Serbia scores another goal, 3-1. Cameroon does return the favor and scores 2 goals within minutes of each other towards the middle of the half. That would be all the scoring, all the action for that game. 3-3, final score. Very good showing for both teams. Offensively, defensively, not so much. Honestly, for both teams, they needed to win. The draw hurt them both. Brazil versus Switzerland. Again, this is the Neymar-less Brazil. And Switzerland was able to do what they wanted to do. Switzerland likes playing similar to like Morocco, except not at the extreme. They like to control the pace of play. They like to have a strong defensive showing, strong midfield. So they were able to keep Brazil relatively contained. But Brazil did get won by 1-0 Brazilian victory. So Brazil would then play Cameroon, but they had already clinched a spot in the next round, so they didn't really care. As for Switzerland versus Serbia, this one was kind of for all the marbles, so to speak. Who moves on? So Cameroon basically playing Brazilian backup team to an extent. Brazil not playing at full strength. Barely is able to win. They score a goal late in extra time to win 1-0. But they needed, in this situation for them, they would have needed Serbia to win over Switzerland. How did that work out? Switzerland scores a goal early. Serbia retaliates. Serbia takes a 2-1 lead. Switzerland retaliates shortly thereafter. Early in the second half, Switzerland scores a goal. That would be all the scoring. Brazil wins Group G with 6 points. Switzerland comes in second with 6 points. Brazil had a +2 goal differential. Switzerland had a +1. So there's that. Cameroon finishes third with 4 points. Serbia finishes fourth with a point. Disappointing showing for Serbia. But at the same time, people who are calling them darlings, I mean, yes, I might have overranked them as well. But what are you going to do? You know, still, you made the World Cup. You have that going for you. I'm sure most Americans can't even point out Serbia on a map. I'm sure most non-Europeans can't point out Serbia on a map. So I'll give them credit for that. I can, don't worry about that. But as for Cameroon, pretty strong showing for them. One of the better teams in Africa, for sure. So it's good for them. Lastly, we have Group H, and I know my sim game's almost over, but Group H, Portugal, South Korea, Uruguay, Ghana. So this was an intriguing group for sure. Portugal, definitely the heavyweights in this group, with their ranking being 9th overall. As for South Korea is another talented team, but they are not ranked in the top 100. So there's that going for them. Uruguay, actually, you know, historically speaking, Uruguay has been a very good team. They won the first ever World Cup, I'm pretty sure. I want to double check that real quick. Yes, they did. They beat Argentina. I thought so. I knew they hosted it. So Uruguay would win the first ever World Cup. They're a historically dominant team. They were actually ranked 14th in the world. You know, going into the World Cup, I didn't realize they were that high. And then there was also Ghana, who was not ranked in the top 50. So 3 teams in the World Cup were not ranked in the top 50, and 2 of them happened to be in Group H. So you kind of knew, okay, Group H probably isn't going to be the most talented group out there. Portugal should run away with this group on paper. South Korea, Uruguay played to a 0-0 draw. I mean, what are you going to do? These happen. These things happen. It is what it is, for sure. That's honestly just the best way to look at it. These things happen. You can't win every game. It wasn't the most boring 0-0 draw of the tournament. I will give it that. Portugal versus Ghana. 0-0 through the first half. All of a sudden, the floodgates start to open. Ronaldo scores a goal on a penalty kick about halfway through the second half. Then, shortly after, Ghana returns the favor, ties it up 1-1. Portugal, about 5 minutes after that, scores a goal. And then about a minute after they scored that first goal, they score their second goal, they score a third. Ghana would return the favor about 10 minutes later, but it was too short, too little, too late. Portugal won 3-2. Then you have Ghana taking on South Korea. At this point, it's kind of like, all right, Ghana knows they're in a position, they have their backs against the wall, they kind of have to win to do something. South Korea, they're like, all right, we just drew Uruguay. You know, it's pretty solid for us. Ghana comes in. Midway through the first half, they score a goal. About 10 minutes later, they score a second one. South Korea comes in, and the same player, I'm not going to pronounce his name because I'm not 100% sure. I didn't watch this game, so I'm not going to butcher his name. He scores 2 goals at the 58th and 61st minutes, respectively. So all of a sudden, it's tied up. Ghana would score a goal about 7 minutes later, at the 68th minute mark. The same player who scored the 34th minute goal, so the second goal for the team. And Ghana would hold on to win the game, 3-2. Much needed win for Ghana, for sure. They needed that win. Portugal versus Uruguay. This was a game everyone was excited about. And Ronaldo was pretty much held in check for the game. So that was exactly what they wanted. And it was a good showing for them, for sure. For sure. But after that, you have Portugal. They keep going. They score game-winning goal. What would amount to be the game-winning goal. 54 minutes in. They would score a penalty goal late in extra time. Portugal wins 2-0. So there's that. Portugal, very good opportunity. Very, very, very strong team here. They're in a position where they might have already clinched at that point. I think they had clinched through the first 2 matches. So Uruguay taking on Ghana, must-win matchup for Uruguay. They come in, and the same player would score twice in the first half. It would be enough for Uruguay to win 2-0 over Ghana. Now, South Korea in a must-win game against Portugal. Portugal doesn't need to win because of how everything's been going for them. They're just kind of, all right, if we win, cool. If we don't, we just want to keep it a close game. They score a goal early. South Korea returns the favor about midway through the first half. And then at the tail end, in extra time, in the second half, South Korea would score another goal to win the game 2-1. So what does that leave us for the points? Portugal did win the group with 6 points. Now Uruguay and South Korea both were tied at 4 points, and Ghana had 3 points and finished last. So you look at South Korea versus Uruguay. How did they do? Head-to-head goal differential. They drew head-to-head goal differential. They drew. However, you go for goals for at that point. South Korea had scored more. Therefore, South Korea took the 2 seed. In a surprising twist, so actually we did see a outside of the top 50 ranked team advance to round 16. Pretty good showing for them. However, they met the buzzsaw that is Brazil, so we all know how that story ended. But regardless, Uruguay, disappointing showing for sure. Yet another team that should have done very disappointing showing for them. Defense doesn't win everything. It's the best way to look at it. Ghana, you gotta win. Yes, your defense clearly has issues, but you took a victory over South Korea, a team that did advance to the round of 16. So there's that. And it's not like you were completely embarrassed either. I mean, you played Portugal very well. So you got that to say. So hope you guys enjoyed this. This was recapping the group stage round of the 2022 FIFA World Cup. I will be live on Wednesday ideally around noon Eastern time to discuss the round of 16. Obviously, things haven't gone how I've wanted them to in the round of 16 so far. But, hey, what are you going to do? Life goes on. Right now, if I had to tell you who my biggest disappointment was in the first round, for sure, it's got to be Belgium. Germany, right up there with them. Uruguay, not the most disappointing team to miss it. Belgium, Germany for sure. Denmark's up there. Mexico's up there. So I'd say Belgium, though, certainly. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Have a good rest.